From NBA DFS show with John Impemba and James Grande.
What is going on, FA Nation? John Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS Playbook live show. It is Halloween. If you can tell, I'm in costume. James, dressed as he usually is, for today's show here. 4 games starting at 8 p.m. Eastern time. We are a little bit early, so we can get all the trick-or-treating. Let you guys get to your trick-or-treating later on. I know doorbells will be ringing. Got to go walk the neighborhoods, collect all the candy, and all the good stuff here. So we're a little bit earlier than usual for today, breaking down this 4-game slate. Of course, we watched did the preview show this morning as well. Gave you some first and early thoughts. We've had some injury news break since then. Injury news we sort of expected. Desmond Bain, Marcus Smart out for the Grizzlies here today. John Conchar is questionable for tonight. We didn't find a lot of value on the slate yesterday. It's pretty interesting to see where the value plays are heading today on this main slate. We'll see if that holds true with roster lock currently 4 hours away at this time of day here. But again, should be a fun one. Yesterday, man, I put up over 315 fantasy points. DraftKings didn't cash. Every single chalk play hit for like 7x. If you didn't have like a game stack of Atlanta and Washington, you pretty much didn't get there. If you didn't have the centers in Toronto, Charlotte, you didn't get there. There was just some very, very high scoring performances on yesterday's slate that were all 25 to 40% owned. So you basically had to eat the chalk yesterday, and if you did so, you found yourself in the money.
I
got nothing.
Okay, I'm sorry. I can't break character, John.
Ready to rock here, though.
So same. Yesterday was I'm in cash at 3:30. So I was just a few points ahead of you, and I'm looking at my line like fire. Yeah, I'm probably in a good bubbling. Oh, I'm just over the cash line. Okay. I think the only one that didn't fire was Paolo Banchero, who still was like 5x.
When that Orlando game started and Jalen Suggs got off to the start that he did, I was like 5xing my entries. I'm like, oh, easy day. Like everybody's doing great, and this is happening. And then I don't know, all of a sudden the second half of the third quarter and fourth quarter happens in Atlanta, Washington, and then Pirtle and Nick Richards just went absolutely nutty in the second half of their game. I didn't play it. I played some of that Atlanta Washington game. I tried to make my lineups a little bit different with some of the chalk plays. Like had some fire out of Cade, had a good night out of Anthony Davis, but didn't have the nights you needed when everybody popped off the way they did there. So you know what? That's the day that the way it goes sometimes when the chalk plays the way the chalk plays there. Of course, we'll reevaluate as we move forward to this 4-game slate. Because again, the chalk on today's slate, there's some good plays where you're like, yeah, that makes sense. Like I'll play them. And then there's some other guys where you're like, well, that might be a spot to fade. The ceiling seems pretty low, and maybe we can get ahead of the field here. So we do appreciate you all tuning in. If you hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that share button. I do want to let you know we got a Halloween sale going on right now. It is a limited time today only. Fantasy Alarm promo code SCARY. That's fantasyalarm.com/scary. You get 50% off the monthly All-Pro for the rest of the NFL season. That takes you through the Super Bowl here. That still includes a 7-day free trial. So you go to fantasyalarm.com/scary, sign up, and you get that 50% off the first 3 months. It's, again, through the Super Bowl. It takes you basically till February. MLB Draft Guide might be included in that as well because it gets you access to all of our content. It's not just NFL content. That is NBA, that is NFL, that is NHL, that is MMA, PGA, possibly some baseball mixed in there as well, for this Halloween special that we got going on. So if you've been waiting to try Fantasy Alarm, it includes the 7-day free trial, and now it is 50% off through the rest of the football season. So there's no better deal that has been coming down the pike here for you guys. Check it out. This Halloween special, 50% off, fantasyalarm.com/scary. Promo code SCARY at checkout. Get the 7-day free trial, and then get 50% off for the rest of the season here through the Super Bowl. You can scan that QR code that's right there on the screen as well. I think we've let our people wait long enough here. Let's break down this 4-game main slate here over on DraftKings. We start at the point guard position. Highest projected player on the slate in terms of fantasy points is none other than Luka Doncic, who has been slumping the last couple of games. Asked you this morning, are we buying or selling Luka Doncic here today? Given the recent production, but it on a small slate, what are you doing with Luka tonight?
Yeah, I think the initial ownership was interesting because he was the third highest rostered of the 3 players over $10,000. And that since come back, he's now second behind Giannis. And while I do think Giannis' spot is better, just given where Memphis is defensively and where Memphis is in pace, I obviously still think Luka has a higher, if not the highest ceiling on like every slate, just given what he does. Like where he trumps Giannis for me is like if he goes out and hits 7 threes, well, like Giannis can triple double, but Luka's going to have a 40-point triple double.
Yeah.
So I'm not worried in any capacity. Yeah, hasn't shot well in 2 straight games. Still almost triple double in both of them. And Luka is not a sub 40% shooter. As a sub 40% shooter this year, he's at 27, 9, and 7. I mean, what happens when he has one of those like, oh yeah, I dropped 70 in Atlanta last year type of games, right? It's like, okay, need to have him. So yeah, I mean, if I'm gonna start my builds with Luka, and I completely understand if you are a start my builds with Giannis kind of guy today, because I do think the spot is ultimately better for Giannis, but that's what's kind of keeping I think Luka's ownership down is recency bias. He's not making shots, and Giannis is, can get to the rim and score whenever he wants. So I still prefer Luka at slightly lower ownership, and that's where I'm going to allocate my funds. But understand like why you would go to Giannis over him.
Sure. So Luka's there, and then obviously it's a big drop off there. James Harden, $9,100 against the Suns. 47 fantasy points for him. Another double-double, fourth straight double-double, rather. Third straight with the assists. We talked about it going into the year. James Harden on a team by himself, you're going to get like vintage James Harden type production. The first couple of slates, we got it, trailed off maybe a little bit the last couple, but you're still getting 50, nearly 50 fantasy points out of him. I would say the free throws last game, probably more of an anomaly. I would expect Harden to get around 10 free throws a game, if not more, since he's got the ball in his hand so often. 3-point shooting, he struggled with the 3-point shooting the last couple of seasons as well. Like he's still going to be a volume guy, and maybe he comes up around 36%, 37% by year's end. But, seeing him go 2 for 9, 1 for 9, 2 for 12, that's not really shocking based on what we saw out of him when he was with the 76ers and then, times last year as well. So, but it's just the minutes should be good for him. Do you think that they're competitive in this matchup against Phoenix tonight?
Yeah, I mean, they were really competitive up against the first game.
Yep.
I think why the Clippers are competitive is because they're very good defensively, and they have a lot of like really good wing defenders on their roster that they can throw at people. And truthfully, like they kind of limited his minutes last night. I mean, we were talking on air. You were like going to play normal minutes. Well, he only played 32. He's played 36 plus, and they lost. This wasn't like he's not playing because of blowout. No, they just lost that game. I think throughout the game, T. Lue was managing minutes, thinking I can just sneak a couple more minutes with him on the bench and we'll still win this game. Well, that didn't happen.
Well, they are up big for a while in that one. When we were recording, and then all of a sudden, like they made that comeback in the third, and yeah, like you said, they ended up going down and losing by 1 ultimately in that game. So again, $9,100. I have no problem with the current form that Harden is in. The ball is just going to be in his hands. John Morant's getting some love here today. We got 29 minutes out of him, but it's now a back-to-back. Like we know this dude can be an absolute monster when they unleash him. So with no Bane, no Smart, but also on a back-to-back, like, do we think this is a 35-minute jaw game, or like what do we think happens here?
I don't think it's 35 minutes, but I do think like if you project Ja for 30, or you put him at that 29 that he was at for Brooklyn, I mean, there's a legitimate chance he blows up. He hasn't had the blow up spot yet. He was great on opening night where you and I were like, why is John Morant not playing minutes? Can he play minutes?
Mhm.
Please, somebody tell us why. And then we were told, like, oh, right, we're going to play these amount of people for the first 9 games or first 6 games because, you know, we have 6 games in 9 days. Well, even in this limited fashion, 3 double doubles, almost triple doubled against Brooklyn yesterday,
Mhm.
and now they're shorthanded. I'm not saying that shorthanded means anything to they could just play Scottie Pippen more ultimately.
Yep.
But if Ja's going to sit around 30 minutes, I mean, he has a 34% usage rate this year when not factoring in people off the floor, right? That's just
Yeah.
Ja Morant base numbers, whoever else on the floor
Yeah, being John Morant. Yeah.
being Ja Morant. So like he's not shooting well and has a monster usage rate, and now their second best offensive player is not on the floor, and their another starting guard is not on the floor. So they really are just down. Now they could play dust off Kawamara for a couple minutes today, the rookie. I doubt it. Like I doubt he would get an extended look
Sure.
rather. So it's really just Ja and Scottie Pippen. If like what if Contra doesn't play? Right? Then they are super shorthanded in the backcourt. And so then I think it is pretty safe to assume Ja's going to get close to 30 minutes again. And we just really need him to make shots. That's
Yeah.
really been the separator for like his production. He went for 40, going 5 for 16 yesterday in 20 minutes. He's made no threes through 4 games. He's 2
Yeah.
for whatever. I mean, everything else has been great. So if we can just get Ja to make some shots tonight, and if you do think he's going to play 30 minutes, then I do think he's in play. And that's something that I wasn't necessarily in belief of last night, but just the more I look at it, and now with the confirmation that those two are out, like, there's obviously a ceiling.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, below him, Dame is a really good price point.
Yeah, it's weird. It's a little weird.
A guy that's been well over 9K has 250 bombs already on his, including a 58. Now, this could just be short slate pricing where it's like 4 games and they're, just the algo spits out 8,800 Dame Lillard. I mean, I like this. I like this a lot for Lillard right now.
10% of the field is playing Damian Lillard.
I saw that. So that's a reason to why, like, I feel like I want to kind of get here, right?
I mean, it has been as bad a start for Milwaukee as you could have imagined.
Yeah, Giannis wants to be traded.
There's reports, and like one of the teams is Brooklyn. It has to be bad if one of the wish lists for Giannis is the Brooklyn Nets. When you look at like
Brooklyn, it's the Brooklyn environment,
the market,
the market, New York.
Yeah. No, I know. And like they're the size who own Brooklyn, the Nets also own the Liberty. So like now they have like all this like basketball fever there, right? I agree. I'm just saying when you look at the Brooklyn Nets now, it's not exactly like, yes, that's the team that I want to be traded to. Right?
So does Brooklyn even have anything left to trade to? After acquiring, Durant and Irving and Harden all those years, and like, what
they traded Bridges. Well, they got all those picks back for Bridges.
That's fair. That is fair. So,
so just ship them right back out there.
Yeah, ship them out.
Yeah. So like, yeah, I mean, I think Lillard has looked great. The scoring, I don't think we've ever worried about the Lillard scoring, but the peripheral stats have been great. The minutes have been great. So everything's really on the up and up for Damian Lillard.
18 free throws against the Celtics. Like,
that's a lot. That's a lot of free throws. I mean, it just goes to show you like what type of player he is. He did that against, one of the better defenses in the NBA. He scored 33 actual and had 7 and 7 and went to the line 18 times. Like he can be that guy. He has been that guy for a long time.
We have Lillard. Lillard's projections, fantasy point wise, he's like among the top 10 projected scoring players on the night, and of that grouping, he's well below the lowest roster for the most part. So like, you're getting him for a third of what Harden's going for. and they almost have mirroring stat lines. They both have games where they've nearly got 60s. They're pretty much living in the 40s in their other games. So, like,
And
would you rather 8,800 Lillard or 9,100 Harden tonight?
agreed. And Morant, right? I
Yeah.
mean, with Ja's limit.
Yeah.
Like, I understand that Ja's got less going on in Memphis, but like they're the ones on the back-to-back, not the Bucks.
Right.
The Clippers are on a back-to-back, not the Bucks.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, I think that's and I think this is great leverage, right?
Yeah.
I know we talked about like liking Dame or liking Luka, or I talked about liking Luka over Giannis, but Giannis is getting a ton of ownership. The leverage play is not playing Giannis and playing Dame, and you could just pair him with Luka, and
you
then
can play Luka and Lillard with the way the pricing is on him right now. Like, it's not too prohibitive there. So, I definitely like Lillard there. Kyrie Irving, Booker, they're both shooting guards. We'll talk about them in a moment. Van Vliet, 7K. Chris Paul, 59. Scottie Pippen, are you surprised that there's not more love going his way?
People are probably scared off by like the price, and he didn't really play alongside Ja in this game. I mean, they had 1 minute of overlap. So where you were getting production from Scotty at 5,200 when Smart was ruled out, or when Ja was ruled out. But like they knew, like the field thinking about that, like, all right, well, Scottie Pippen's going to have to play point guard, where they don't need that tonight necessarily because they have Ja Morant. So, and he's $5,800. So it's not like that price point that we can like get away with a decent game. You have to have nearly 30 fantasy points for him to come.
Yeah,
So.
I think that for me, it's a couple of, they're down two big wings, and I get it, right? There's no overlap, and sometimes in the game flow, but like if they also end up like being without Contra as well,
Yes,
like
they probably have to play.
They probably have to play them both together, but also this is a back-to-back, and this is the sixth game in that 9-game span that we talked about. So if there is a Morant limitation tonight, just because they don't want to push him, Pippen did see 20 minutes still in that game, so maybe there's an opportunity for some more run for him. But yes, I get the price point there. Keontae George is 57. Tyus is $5,400. What are we looking at here in this mid range?
Yeah, Van Vliet safe if you want to go there. Chris Paul, fine. I mean, we saw a ceiling last game, would have played about 28, 29 minutes if not for that, subs at the end of the game against OKC yesterday.
Yeah.
But we don't even know what San Antonio is going to do at a back-to-back. We don't know. They don't have to release the injury report. They haven't released the injury report.
Yeah.
So 9 p.m. game, we're probably not going to know too early if Chris Paul's even playing a back-to-back or what Popovich's approach on a back-to-back is going to be. So a little indifferent there, but tournaments. And I think the problem playing Pippen over Keontae George is that Will Hardy, head coach for the Jazz, has just made it clear, right? I'm going to play Keontae George 30 plus minutes no matter what. And just that opportunity alone puts me more on Pippen and puts the field more on Pippen. I mean, Keontae George is getting like a sizable amount of ownership.
Yeah, over 20% right now for Keontae George. So again, the 5,700. We liked him going into the year, and then they started like playing around with people's minutes. Now, again, like you said, his has been very consistent. So less of the issue for Keontae George. Any other value plays that you'd look into tonight?
Nah. I mean, Contra's point guard, small forward. So I think when we get to small forward, we're both going to be like, nah, you're just going to play Contra at small forward. So.
Yeah. Shooting guard. Devin Booker, Jalen Green, Kyrie Irving, your top three guys there.
Yeah, Devin Booker's been kind of disappointing from a, he's definitely playing second fiddle type thing where Durant has scored 30 plus in 3 straight. And I'm not saying Booker scored 33 last game, but Durant's been the alpha in the offense so far. So I'm indifferent about Booker. We know he has a massive ceiling when he can get it going. I do think having a traditional point guard there limits his peripherals a little bit, at least on the assist front. Jalen Green playing all the minutes he can handle, taking all the shots he can. He's been very consistent to start the year, so I like Jalen Green. I like Kyrie Irving because in the last 2 games that Luka struggled, well, Kyrie Irving has not struggled, and Kyrie Irving's making a ton of shots. He is putting up Luka type peripheral stats. So if you don't want to play Luka, you could just play Kyrie, who for no reason at all is still the price that he is. This is another guy that should be in mid 8s to make us, a little harder to get to. Well, he's 7,500 and he's nuking that price tag nightly. So let's get that bumped a little bit.
Yeah.
And that would be your reason not to play Luka, where you could just why would I spend $11,000 for Luka when Kyrie's giving me equal and better production for $3,000 less?
For sure. Bradley Beal was questionable, but participated in the shoot around. So we're assuming he is going to be good to go here. I mentioned on the show this morning, I'm fine. He's been solid. He plays the minutes. I'm perfectly good getting to Bradley Beal here if you want to. Sexton versus Clarkson was a discussion we had the other day. Sexton in that game did not play well, played 18 minutes, didn't miss all of the shots. Clarkson, on the other hand, 25 minutes, had 21 actual, 32. Clarkson's still cheaper than Sexton, so we'll just keep taking the Clarkson discount here.
I was absolutely shocked this morning to see nobody playing Jordan Clarkson, and that's come around. I just wonder why that was, because what was there not to like about a 30% usage rate in a start with Larry Markkinen potentially not playing? What made us believe or not believe in Jordan Clarkson at $5,200?
We were willing to play Clarkson off the bench at $5,200, just knowing what his role was, right? Now if he's in, now the other thing is we don't know. Hardy could go right back to in the starting lineup, but that's not, to me, going to change Clarkson's role at all. He's going to play 25 minutes off the bench or in the starting lineup. Either way, it seems like it's going to be fine for Clarkson there. And then your chalk monster of the day is Norman Powell. Coming off 30 actual, second game of 30 or more points of the last 3. Getting him under 6K still, I get it, right? They were just kind of going off of the game before. They didn't have the information. The next time the Clippers play, Norman Powell is going to be $6,800, right? Otherwise, just play him. Probably play him at $6,800 too, the way he's going right now.
Yeah, well over $6,000 for sure. The only problem you're ever going to run into is if he doesn't score, which he has not given us a reason to think he won't.
I was going to say, I haven't seen that yet.
No, I know. It's just because he doesn't do a lot else. But there's no reason to think he won't score. Takes a lot of shots. Very high usage rate thus far. Second on the team, about 26%. So, yeah. I'm basically plugging him into small forward because it's a wasteland over there and just moving on.
We started our lineup build this morning with Clarkson at shooting guard and Powell at small forward, and we figured out the rest. And I don't think that really is going to change much unless San Antonio rules out a bunch of guys. You'll get Castle maybe in the starting lineup, and if there's no Paul and all those guys, maybe there's some interest. He's a rookie. He hasn't been good. But, 4,400 on a small slate against Utah, you'd probably draw some ownership if that is the way San Antonio plays their rotation.
John, I got a question. Yeah. And I got a question for the audience. I mean, if you guys are participating in Halloween, drop your Halloween costumes in the
not
the pictures. Well, I was going to say first, what was everyone going as for Halloween? I know you're going as what is it? Captain of Fantasy Alarm?
Captain Fantasy Alarm, yeah.
Captain Fantasy Alarm. I'm obviously a minion. I wanted to be Gru, but sensitive subject. And then what's your favorite Halloween candy as well? Just quick toss in there, because
I was gonna say you're throwing me in the middle of a positional breakdown. Asking my favorite candy, huh?
Yeah, why not? It's Halloween. Get yourself together.
Well, my favorite candy would kill you, so I like Reese's peanut butter cups.
So does my wife. So she's actively trying to kill me too, I guess.
What is yours? I guess.
Oh, on Halloween, I love a good Crunch Bar.
There you go.
Love when I dig into my son's thing of candy, because I'll just rip all the Crunch Bars from him.
Do you get the Crackles? They're basically a knockoff Crunch Bar.
No, absolutely not. Why would you ever want to knock off Crunch Bar? That's like drinking RC Cola instead of a Coke. Like you're
That's
not
fine.
doing RC Cola.
Anyways, is there any other shooting guards that you're looking at here? San Antonio plays probably against standout. Champagny, Branham, if guys end up being ruled out tonight.
Yeah, if guys are ruled out for sure. We talked Dylan Brooks last night just because, like, again, you and I talked about this a couple times today. Like, people are legitimately clicking the likes of like Amir Coffee tonight because he is value and he plays minutes, and they're just hoping that he fumbles into 5x, right? But like,
He's shooting guard or just small forward?
he's just small forward. But that's where ownership is tonight because nobody knows what to do. Dylan Brooks is a value play that is playing a boatload of minutes. I'm a little worried about Dylan Brooks. As every one of our viewers would just kill, like, are just coming after me with death ball of candy.
I do like Butterfingers. Yeah, it's true. Butterfingers.
Yeah, all
it
peanut butter.
definitely gets that as a child, Butterfinger probably stuck to my teeth more than any candy that existed. So
yeah, not a big anything that like sticks to the roof of your mouth, just awful.
Yeah,
like popcorn. Love popcorn, but like the kernels and
caramel corn all day.
Favorite Halloween candy, Reese's. just
candy corn. Corn that tastes like candy. Loose black joke.
Dylan Brooks and then Jalen Wells would be the last one. If Contra doesn't play, I legit think Jalen Wells has a chance to start. I don't know if the Memphis would go like double point guard, but we don't know what Conchar is gonna do or if they're gonna play him.
Yep.
Jalen Wells is playing 17 to 23 minutes regardless at $3,900. So I would rather end up on that than like Amir Coffee because at least I've seen Jalen Wells take double-digit shot attempts twice this year. At least obviously,
guys out of this rotation, you can see 25 minutes might just be the baseline for what we get out of him. So.
Right, and potentially a third, right, with Contra. So
correct.
If Contra is ruled out, then I'm definitely in on some Jalen Wells.
Agreed. What's up, Albert? Happy to have you in the chat with us here today. All right, small forward again. A lot of guys that are out or questionable. We know that Beal's in are likely to play. Laurie seems unlikely to play, but he is questionable, so we'll have to wait for the for that to come down. You got Keldon. We talked Norm already. You know, a bunch of dart throw plays down here. It's why we said in the morning show, like, just kind of click Norm Powell and move on from small forward.
It's bad. Candy corn is definitely trash, Ryan, for sure.
If it's available, I'll eat it, but it's not something I am seeking out.
That's honestly the least surprising thing.
You go to a Halloween party, people like put it in like a candy bowl. Yeah, you just grab a handful.
Least surprising thing I ever heard from you. I mean, yeah, this position kind of stinks. Like, I would play Markkanen if he suits up, but obviously we have to worry about a back flare up.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we did the Franz Wagner thing again yesterday. He played the first half and gets hurt. Bankera now popping up questionable with an abdomen strain. So Magic might be down to a couple of plays on Friday, but very worried about Laurie in the back there. Yeah. I like Keldon. We talked Gary Trent over Torian Prince there if you wanted to go there. Again, I plugged in Norm, Champagny, Harrison Barnes, $6,600, Tari Eason, a guy that comes off the bench and makes some noise. So there's a lot of like the same type of player at small forward today because of all the injuries of these guys out.
Yeah. And then there's a couple guys that in Brooks and in Derek Jones who play 30 minutes, but have like super low floors. For what it's worth, Derek Jones has been pretty good in 3 of the 4 games this year, including back-to-back games. The problem is the shot volume is always a little worrisome with Derek Jones, but he is playing with an elite passer that is wanting to rack up the assists. So, that could be a very low owned play, but ultimately, if you're down here, you're probably just clicking on one of the Memphis guys anyway. Like if Conchar plays or Wells, even if Conchar plays, like Wells is obviously a bit away from Conchar.
Where's Contra's price? So am I missing it?
He's 38. He's listed questionable. So
there he is. Yeah, I agree with you. Be one of the Memphis guys if you're going to for some value, if not Norm. Power forward has Giannis at 10-7. Durant's $8,600. Had that really good. It was an overtime game in that first opener night against the Clippers.
He's just been a dog.
25 actual there. Yeah, he's been really good. 3 straight games of 30 or more actual points there for KD. Triple J, again, don't know the minutes for him there. Sohan's been really good at $5,800. What are your thoughts, power forward?
Yeah, I mean, Giannis is obviously elite if you get there. We talked about potentially pivoting to Dame at like 1/3 the ownership. That's obviously a leverage play that I'd be willing to go to. But if you want to get to Giannis, by all means do so. Durant's been awesome. Shot volume's great. Minutes. Kevin Durant is a unicorn when it comes to minutes, man. He is going to play 40 minutes a night until the day he steps off the basketball court.
Yeah.
He's great. So if you want to get to Durant, 8,600, do so. Triple J's minutes were great yesterday. Will they handle that the same way on the back-to-back? That's the question. I doubt it. We'll see. 7,400 is a pretty good price for a guy. For him, if he plays 30 minutes, we just don't know if he's going to. Can't really play Bobby Portis after they kind of just like wiped him from the face of the earth last slate for no reason.
I don't know if that was like a
all.
matchup thing or what, because he had a very clear and productive role the 3 games prior. I'd be willing to go back to Bobby Portis here, and if he burns me again, he burns me again. I mean, he didn't burn me the first time. I didn't play him against Boston, but like if he burns you, then that's on you at this. Like that's fine. You just take that and you move forward. But on a 4-game slate, like what are people doing with Portis? Are they getting to him? A little bit. 17, 18% Bobby Poe.
18% Bobby Poe because everyone that's half the owner, almost a little less than half the ownership that Sohan's getting, right?
Yeah.
So that's just like your pivot, but also, his ownership will be that way because he has multi-position eligibility as well.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely more interested in Sohan. I'd even say I'm more interested in like Aldama and Collins as well, like over Portis. But yeah, I don't. It's hard to like look at the minutes from Milwaukee and like what he did, but also Memphis might run out. They could run out like Aldama, Jackson, and Edie starting lineup tonight, and just be 6'10" or bigger at 3 positions, and then you're like, all right, well, Bobby Portis does have a role in this game.
Speaking of a 7-footer that might have a role today, Kyle Filipowski started the second half for the Jazz in place of Lauri Markkanen. 25 minutes, 5 of 10, hit a couple of threes. 7-footer from Duke can play the wing, and they were not afraid to play him over Markkanen there in the second half when we thought maybe they'd go Collins or somebody different.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. You mentioned it. Like he started the second half over anybody else.
After barely playing this year, 4 minutes and 5 minutes, right? And then all of a sudden he gets 25.
Yeah. So
if he starts, there's gonna be a lot of ownership going to him.
Yeah, because I mean the lack of ownership or the lack of value, and pair that with power forward center eligibility, you can play him at multiple positions. I don't disagree.
I do agree with you. You and I were both very high on John Collins last time out. We were also super disappointed that even after Lauri went out, he didn't really play. I guess this is just what we're getting out of John Collins until they finally trade him this year.
Yeah, they got it, right? They just have to. Please trade him. For John Collins' sake, please trade him.
The numbers are good, right? Double-digit scoring, 5 to 7 rebounds. Like you're going to get your 20-plus fantasy points, but his ceiling feels pretty capped at 30, maybe 35 at an absolute max. If he's only playing 24 minutes, I mean, like didn't crack 20 in 2 of them, hasn't cracked 25 yet. So
I'm trying to look at what the overlap was. It was 3 minutes with Walker Kessler. Like that was what they played together in that last game. So I mean, there's a path to playing him more if there's no Markkanen, but
you need is Kessler going to get foul trouble.
Yeah, right, which is obviously possible with Wemby, but it's just like playing that game is also like another like I don't want to play John Collins if I'm praying for foul trouble.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw tweet today from Zach Lowe. but he basically broke down that what teams are doing is they're switching and having their forwards guard Wemby, and the centers are taking on Sohan. So like more athletic wings are covering Wembanyama and not. So if this game ends up being Kyle Filipowski ends up getting, Victor Wembanyama in this matchup, if he gets in foul trouble, then maybe they're forced to play John Collins more because, Kessler's out there dealing with Sohan. So
Sure.
could be interesting to see how this all plays out. But again, the minutes seemingly were there. I think Collins is at least good with 20 minutes tonight.
Yep.
So Ryan popping in. I feel like Collins has been on the trade market his whole career, pretty much.
Yeah, yes.
Pretty much since Atlanta, and then finally got to Utah, and then stayed around Utah. So, and then Jake LaRavia, again, probably just in the rotation anyways with everybody out. We got 2 pretty good games lately. We had the ceiling game against Chicago, but should be in your player pool tonight regardless.
Yeah, I'm excited for an 8-man rotation tonight for Memphis. I'm super stoked for it. With two stars out.
If he said 6 of the first 9, that's why we're playing this. Well, we're at the end of that. We're at the end of that row. So hopefully we get some, some consistency here. Anybody else for you down here?
Nothing that we haven't talked about.
Center. Wemby's 10-4, Giannis 10-7. Obviously, we talked Giannis already. Şengün, big price down here at $8,500 gets Dallas. Zubac, last night, again, I thought he was going to be able to do more. They didn't really, again, play him a lot more minutes than what he was on the floor for. 6 and 12 with 2 blocks. Worst game of the season. Could bounce back against Phoenix. He played 34 minutes, 35 fantasy points in that one. Again, smaller slate. There are only so many possible centers to play here. Which direction are you going?
Yeah, I mean, Wemby, we'll see what the minutes look like on a back-to-back. Obviously had a terrible game yesterday, and Houston paved the way for that smaller player on Wemby because they used Dylan Brooks to guard him. And we've seen it we've seen that a lot with Denver guarding opposing bigs with Aaron Gordon, and Philadelphia was using Tobias Harris on Jokic in the past. So we've seen that in the past, and they're now using that on Wemby. And I think it's a good strategy until he can figure out just shoot over them like Porzingis was doing in the playoffs last year, right? When Indiana went to Nembhard on Porzingis, and Porzingis was like, "Are you kidding me? What are you doing?" So Wemby's fine. Don't love it. Don't hate it. Obviously, he has a crazy ceiling. Şengün got benched in that first San Antonio game on the second leg of a back-to-back, then got in foul trouble in the second game, was smashing until foul trouble. So if you want to go to Şengün, he obviously has an elite ceiling.
Yep.
Zubac is, I'm telling you, I think they just limited the minutes yesterday, thinking that they could get a win without playing everybody full capacity. Because nobody, we went from 34, 39, 38 to 31, but that was the same with Harden. That was everyone across the board, Norm Powell included. So I think Zubac can get back up to mid-30s. I think he's a very safe option with the usage. 25% usage rate, second on the team in fantasy points per minute. So, yeah, I have no issues going right back to the Zubac well at 65.
Sure. All right, so there's your mid-tier play. We've talked a lot of these other guys. We also broke down what's going on. Nurkic played just 15 minutes in that game. They played Plumlee over him. He had 30 against Dallas. He played just 18 minutes against the Lakers the other time. Is it just that is Anthony Davis just a bad matchup for him, so they take him off the floor for Plumlee?
Yeah.
It could just be that simple. He only played 22 minutes against Zubac on opening night as well.
Nurkic. This is the story of Yusuf Nurkic, no? He just is. Phoenix, I think, has multiple outlets where they can go small with Durant at the 5. They have Plumlee. They have multiple ways they can approach the center spot. So there's never a guarantee Nurkic is going to play extended minutes. He has a high ceiling, but it's just not something that I'm going to trust if we're getting. If you're playing single entry, it's just not something I'm even considering.
Sure. Anybody else at center for you?
Anybody else at center? Not necessarily that we talked about. You could play either Dallas center. That's fine.
Sure.
Gafford will start, be really efficient, really productive in his time on the floor. You can play Derek Lively. He will probably play more minutes, get a lot of rebounds,
Yeah.
be a menace defensively. So you could play either of those guys. Obviously, Gafford has the better price tag between the two. Lively's just played more minutes. I think Brolo is a little bit interesting given how good he's been. That's a matchup nightmare for Zach Edey if they decide like
Sure.
what is that? Zach Edey gonna
Stretch him
chase
out.
Brook Lopez? I mean, dude, Brook Lopez is gonna get the most open looks he's ever gotten from 3.
Mhm.
So don't expect Edey to be on the floor very much in this game, if at all, really. So I think those 3, the 2 Dallas guys and Brolo are definitely fine.
All right. Well, let's get to it then. Still just starting off with Clarkson and Powell here.
Yeah.
Okay. Clarkson was 52, right? All right. Based off ownership, is anything changing for you on the way you build? Do we plug Contra in? He's not out yet, so do we assume he's in for 3,800? Do you what's your thoughts on the next move here?
Am I crazy to just like want, even if Contra plays, like prefer if we're gonna do Memphis value, like Jalen Wells is the better option. I mean, especially
I'm fine with going with Wells. That's cool. He's in the rotation, and there's missing guys, so he can play.
one of those 2 names has the highest projected rostership of the night, where he's not like a high volume shooter.
Sure.
And one of them has a 14% roster, and their fantasy point projection is 3 points apart. And I'm hard pressed to think that's actually like factually correct. Like,
Sure.
that Contra's 3-point fantasy better than Jalen Wells. I mean, John Contra played 20 minutes yesterday. He had 8 fantasy points.
Yeah.
Why is that? He's taken 6 shots this year. Why is like that guy
I agree. I feel like I'm running out of money here to build this lineup. A $4,800 center.
You can also play Filipowski at center if you.
Yeah, I can play Filipowski or Gafford. I guess would be the play there at 45 probably. That would give us a $4,800 util, which
would be PJ. It would be Private Jet Washington, who's been really good in back-to-back games. You know what I think has really helped PJ Washington? Maxi Kleba being out.
Sure. Is Kleba out again tonight?
Yes.
Okay. So kind of threw in some of the guys we talked a lot about here on the show today. Luka, Clarkson, Powell, Sohan, Filipowski, Wells, Washington, and Dame I threw in there. Obviously, there are you could pivot off of Dame if you wanted to, get some more salary, move around to center. You like Şengün. Could flip those 2 players if you wanted to and go find yourself a cheaper, a little bit cheaper util. Like, what do you think of the lineup we just put together here?
I'm good with it. I would just, my thing.
Move
Lillard in the util.
Yeah.
You never know.
Hey, you would rather what, Luka in your util? What do you want?
Yeah, I would just not. I just prefer to not have especially with Luka, like leaving the game twice the other day. Like,
well, I mean, if he's in your lineup already, that doesn't really change anything.
Just saying.
All right. Well, Lillard, Clarkson, Powell, Sohan, Filipowski, Wells, Washington, Luka. Example lineup for everybody here today. Go enjoy your Halloween. We'll have the preview show tonight for a big Friday slate. Already getting injury news for that one, so it should be fun. We'll be back live tomorrow at 5 usual time. I'll be back here live again 7 p.m. Eastern time tonight to talk some Thursday night football. So if you got your fantasy football questions, hit that subscribe button so you get notified when we go live again. Hit that like, that subscribe, that share button for today's show. It's a free way to support the work we do here. And then again, we got the 7-day free trial going on. And if you've seen the scroll down at the bottom, Halloween only special today. Take 50% off your all-pro monthly subscription through the football season there. So fantasystorm.com/scary, promo code scary will get you that 50% off through the Super Bowl and all content there. So good luck tonight, everybody. Enjoy your Halloween, and we'll catch you later.